This is Wacken Open Air, the biggest gathering of metalheads in the world. Each year, over 60,000 devoted fans come to camp out in the fields of northern Germany to worship their favorite metal bands. And whether you've come to see death metal, power metal, black metal, goth metal, or even Viking metal, if you're a die-hard metal fan, this is the place to be. This is me. My name is Sam Dunn, and as you can see, I'm one of the die-hard metal fans. Ever since I was 12 years old, I've been obsessed with all things metal. And although my parents hoped it was a phase, it wasn't. I grew up, got my graduate degree in anthropology, and then decided to make a documentary about heavy metal culture. In the film, I traced the music back to its working-class roots in the factory towns of England and America. I then showed how early metal bands like Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and Blue Cheer laid the foundation for a crazy number of metal subgenres. Along the way, I met some of my childhood heroes and spoke to a ton of musicians about the controversy surrounding this music.
Satan.
I also heard from hundreds of metal fans about what this music means to them.
From the time I was 12 years old, metal was just a constant.
And what I discovered is this underground movement is even bigger than I first thought. And for metalheads, it's about more than just music. It's an identity. After the film was released, I got a flood of emails from metal fans thanking me for giving this community the respect it deserves. But what surprised me was how many different countries the emails came from. Many were from places I had no idea metal even existed. I mean, I knew there was metal outside of Europe and North America. One of my favorite bands is Sepultura from Brazil, and I also have metal albums recorded live in Japan. But the stories in these emails got me thinking. For years, anthropologists have studied the effects of globalization, but I've never considered heavy metal's role in this process. As metal has spread across the globe, what new meanings is it taking on for fans in countries with such vastly different cultural, political, and religious backgrounds? Clearly, there's a whole world of metal out there I know nothing about. But I'm not going to find answers in the fields of northern Germany. So I'm taking my anthropology studies on the road to understand how metal has gone global. Yeah!
Oh,
first stop on my journey is Brazil, the largest country in Latin America, and a place most people associate with beaches, soccer, and samba. But if you ask any metal fan, they'll tell you that it's also known for its massive metal scene. So what happened to make metal so huge in this country?
As pessoas nos anos 70 viviam numa ditadura no Brasil. A gente teve uma ditadura de quase 25 anos. Durante uma ditadura não é muito fácil você ter acesso ou liberdade a qualquer tipo de informação.
And on that period, when we were teenagers, it was very hard to find good instruments. The market was very closed for everything that comes from abroad.
No Brasil, a ditadura acabou em 1985. Nesse momento, as bandas estavam começando a lançar os primeiros discos de heavy metal brasileiros. E o que isso quer dizer é que o heavy metal veio junto com a democracia.
I think the organizers of Rock in Rio felt the momentum, and they organized this festival, which was huge. There were 1,380,000 people during 10 days. And it was the first time, everyone knew what a metalhead was and that there were so many.
Pode parecer engraçado hoje querer ver Whitesnake. É um pouco engraçado, mas ver Whitesnake, Ozzy Osbourne, Scorpions, Iron Maiden, era demais para o brasileiro em 1985.
I wouldn't say that metal came to free us, but I say that it was something that we were begging for. We were begging to have that atmosphere of freedom of speech, freedom of communication.
Hey! Hey! 2 minutes to midnight! Let me see your hands in the air!
We had to fly in by helicopter because to get there, all the roads were kind of blocked and stuff. And so as we were getting closer and closer, you could kind of see, you could see all this kind of, it looked like smoke coming up in the air, And what it was actually the steam rising off the bodies off the crowds. They were all in sync, all having a great time.
Você viu uma multidão de gente que se perdia. Então a gente parecia fazer parte de algo muito maior do que nós. Nós nos sentíamos parte de uma grande família, de uma religião. E as pessoas começaram a imaginar que essa pudesse ser a música, a trilha sonora de um momento que o Brasil era um país novo e livre.
Sao Paulo, Brazil. We're at the Grandes Galerias, otherwise known as the Galeria do Rock. And I guess metal's huge in a country when there's a whole mall devoted to it. I first heard Sepultura when I must have been around 13 or 14 years old. It was hard to believe that there was metal actually coming out of Brazil.
It seemed like it was coming from so far away, from a place that was really so different.
Sepultura's founder, Max Cavalera, is one of my all-time metal heroes. And finally I get the chance to ask him what it was like starting out as an extreme metal band in Brazil.
Well, everything was a struggle, actually, from our own struggle of we didn't know how to play, but we want to have a band. Then we didn't have money, but we really wanted to be in a band. The money was never a problem, you know. You go around somehow, you figure out. Even how we look, we find ways. When we saw the Destruction album covers, they had bullet bells. So like, we have to look like those guys, man. You know, it's like, we look like shit, we look stupid. We need bullet bells. I think Igor came up with the idea, well, let's get a bunch of AA batteries, glue them together, take the picture from far. They will look like bullet bells. I was like, you must be nuts. It's not gonna work. And like, yeah, it will work. So you work on those batteries for like a couple of days. And then they look perfect, look great. And it's like, man, cool. Now we got bullet bells, you know, what's next, you know? It was crazy, man. The Brazilian crowd just went nuts from the first note. You know, the entire stadium went crazy, mosh pit. My head's going 1,000 miles an hour. Like, this is my country. This is where I grew up. We're playing in the biggest stadium in the world of soccer. All the people that thought Sepultura would never make it, everybody's here watching this, and we're turning it up. You know, and we're playing everything faster than we ever did.
Soldiers going nowhere. Soldiers blinded by their fate.
Kids identify themselves with them because they were poor. They started out without anything. They just like wanted to play metal and managed to make a living out of it.
A gente falou, não, Sepultura vai ser a nosso grande trunfo, né? A nossa bandeira do metal brasileiro. Porque o Brasil hoje, de certa forma, é reconhecidamente um país que não tem heavy metal, mas hoje também é reconhecido como o país do heavy metal por causa do Sepultura. E falar de Sepultura fora do Brasil é como falar de Pelé, Amazônia, Sepultura do Brasil. Very important, muito importante, muito importante.
A few years after I got into Sepultura, they surprised me when they added traditional Brazilian instruments into their music. This shocked a lot of people in the metal community, including their own record company.
I think the owner said like he laughed, like, why they want to go with a bunch of naked Indians in the middle of the Amazon? Why did they just record the album in New York? You know, something like that. You know, I think they didn't understand at first, but definitely when everything came focused, yeah, the project, that was awesome, man. You know, I think people were like blown away. I think a lot of countries fall under the idea that we should copy America. And music goes under that too. And I think it sucks, you know, because I don't think we should copy the States. I think we should have our own identity, you know?